Um, Honorable Chairman, eminent panel members, very distinguished members in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. It's more than my honor to be here, invited here to deliver this presentation. I'll share some of my thoughts and experiences. I'll be talking to you basically on challenges and opportunities in engineering education, and not so much directly on investment opportunities. This one. Not so much on investment opportunities, but somewhere a fine thread or a fine inference can be drawn from the emerging opportunities that I'm going to talk about. I'm Dr. Shankar from Savitha University. I come from a research background, having worked for over 2 decades in the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Department of Atomic Energy. My passion for academics brought me to this wonderful place, and I'm very happy to be in the midst of young and futuristic professionals. I look at engineering education basically as a national resource to ensure national security, to promote economic growth, and to sustain global leadership. For all this and more, I think all of us as academicians need to play a very vital role in nation building. It has been mentioned by our earlier speakers that India is growing into being recognized as the human resource capital of the world. A larger population of the more dynamic force, and unless we streamline, harness this human resource with all the required skills and talents, it will be a challenge for us to get the best out of this huge human resource. Let me present in brief some of the challenges as I see in engineering education. The first is, of course, the rapid pace of technology growth. We need to train our students, educate them about technologies that are not existing today, technologies that are going to be invented tomorrow. So how do we train them? It's basically training their minds, training their personality to be confident, to take up new directions, new fields that may arise tomorrow, because the technology, if you see, every 6 months, every year, there is something new coming up in the field. Basically, the foundations have to be strong, and we have to take a revolutionary step forward, change the direction in which we teach the students, to promote not just delivering the curriculum dictated by the universities. I would say that is only 50% of the responsibility of any institution. The responsibility is far beyond that. We'll have to train them to be good thinkers. We'll have to train them to be very skilled. If you look at it, the challenge today is also interdisciplinary. It's not possible for a professional to be only a mechanical engineer. He must have in him an integrated knowledge of electronics, of computer science, and vice versa. Be it any field. I'm sure this kind of interdisciplinary requirement to work in a team, coordination, soft skills, skill enhancement, particularly looking at the demographics and the labor force projection in the next few decades, every professional will have to be multiply skilled. And if we do not provide this training at the college level, I think it will be too late for them to be very effective as good professionals. Innovative minds, I think this is the most vital component that has to be incorporated in the higher education. Most of the institutes today believe in only delivering the curriculum. Unless we train our students to be proactive, asking questions, to look for problems, to look for solutions, it's not possible to be the super leaders in the engineering industry. We are aware that you look at any product, any engineering product being released in the global market, every 6 months or every year, it has to be upgraded. And this is possible only if the fellow professionals have an innovative mind. So when we are talking about introducing research at the undergraduate level, it's not really only in terms of publications or patents. I think this inquisitive mind to look for asking the right questions, having an obsessed mind to find the solutions to these pertinent problems, I think training the minds is very, very important. Employability, I think this is the big question today, a big problem. I'll be addressing a few thoughts on that. And we have to be aware that no longer we can be regional in our competition. There's a global competition, there are fellow partners running the race along with us, and we'll have to be well aware of that. Networking with the best is very important. We cannot do it alone. And finally, knowledge management. Any academic institute, the reputation, the growth is not only in the infrastructure building, but also in how the knowledge asset grows along with the institute. What I would mean to be more explicit is the stability in the quality of higher education. All of us have this problem of human resource drain. Good faculties do join, a very good department is formed. A few years we are able to sustain it, and then for many other reasons, inevitable reasons, the faculty may have to leave. But what I would like to stress is that at no cost, the reputation or the quality of education should suffer. And here I think ICT has a major role to play. I'm sure there's a dedicated session, so I will not talk much about that. And every institute must be consciously taking directions to have a knowledge management policy to sustain the quality in the longer perspective. Yeah, I know this. I'll be short. I'll run through the remaining slides. And as I said, every engineering institute, it's no longer just the excellence in academics that is looked for. A little bit of research, little bit of industry participation, holistic education is the key. And beyond all this, I would like to stress professional ethics is so important, and the seeds for good professional ethics has to be laid very subtly at their university level, at their higher education level, through societal interactions. Every institute should have a good number of societal linkage programs that sows the seeds of ethics and good value system in the students. Employability. I've just listed a few things that we do to enhance the employability of students. Finally, it's a mission to create responsible citizens for the country, for the globe, to create responsible engineers. All bound in these 4 constraints: professionals with good passion, good skills, good ethics, and good intellect capability. When all these 4 are combined together, I think they would make good professionals. Innovations in engineering education is not only through content development, but also in teaching methodologies. I would not have time to go through this. Knowledge management, I have already stressed about it. We'll have to learn how to manage both explicit and tacit knowledge. Growing the intellectual assets along with physical assets is the key today. We have tried to introduce some of these innovations at our university, and I'm happy to share some of our experience here. Particularly to enhance the employability, there's a greater focus on hands-on training, which means there are more lab sessions, innovative projects every year, not only in the final semester, and I'm very happy to share with you some excellent projects that have come out from the students. Credits for UG research, compulsory industry internship so that it gives them a real exposure to what the industry needs, so on and so on. I'd just like to take a minute here to explain some of the outcome, the results that have come from these innovative projects that have been introduced right from the first year. We train the students to ask the right questions, to look around in the society and ask the right questions. For example, some of our students who travel, come from very far, from Bihar and even further beyond from the north. When they are traveling for sometimes even 2 days by train, they felt they could not charge the mobiles. So they came up with an interesting idea, and with the guidance of the faculty, they could develop a mobile charger, a wind energy based mobile charger, because also the travel, there's plenty of wind energy and supply. So this is how we train the students to ask the right questions and then to find simple solutions. This, we believe, is a major drive for them as they enter into the professional field. There are several other experiences. A person coming from a rural background trying to develop a solar-based sprayer or a solar-based automotive vehicle or a mobile control electric appliance operator, a voice-controlled wheelchair here, because we also have the benefit of having a medical college and a hospital associated with us. And when these students go around and look for social problems, essentially, we train them to ask the right questions and to find the right answers. Because once you ask the right questions, I think more than 50% of the problem is solved. A few of the highlights, I will not go through all this, I'll just mention only about two: dual specialization. As I mentioned today, interdisciplinary expertise is important. So dual specialization is one key area that we have introduced. We're getting good outputs there and credits for UG research. Finally, I would like to say that there are certain opportunities. It's not only in terms of academic proficiency, the intellectual level, but more, as has been already suggested, there are more jobs going to be available based on your skills. So the value addition certification programs, together with the curriculum learning, soft skills aptitude and communication training, it's a little sad that less than 30% of the engineers passing out from our country today are even able to speak English. And probably only about 25% are able to really communicate very clearly in any language, be it English or their own mother tongue. So the ability to articulate their thoughts into good expressions, I think that has to be, we have to train them well at the college before they enter into the professional field. Finally, I suggest that it's not possible for every college to have an association with industry. Rather, if it's possible for a professional societies to take a key role to form regional industrial tie-up forums, to put up centers of excellence for training, have a network of industries, I think it would do a great lot of contribution to improving the skill sets of students. Finally, the institutes and universities should not be seen as providers of education only for the students, but I think the scope has to be expanded beyond that. It's a place for continuing education for working professionals of all levels, right from managers, senior level, middle level, and even the lower class professionals. Once that scope is included, I think the opportunity is enormous. Thank you for your patience.